Hey everybody, welcome back to Marvel Monday. Last week we discussed the bottom of the top, places 41 through 50 of the top 50 Marvel movies of all time. Week 2 means we're that much closer to Endgame. The month-long celebration continues today with the next 10, numbers 31 through 40. The movies are starting to get better as we go. Where will your favorite end up? We've had some movers in the 10 entries highlighted here. Let's get right to it. Number 40, Amazing Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was a pretty good Spider-Man. Emma Stone was a good Gwen Stacy. We got a good Lizard, too. This movie was much better than its sequel, but still not better than any other version of Spider-Man. It did have one of the best Stan Lee cameos, though. Number 39, Spider-Man 3. I decided the weakest of the Maguire flicks was still better than either of the Garfield movies, so I put this right here just above the best of the Garfield ones. But seriously, there was equal good and bad about this. I really liked Sandman in this, even though they got so much wrong about him. It worked for a movie version. I didn't like Harry being New Goblin. They could have gotten creative and made him Hobgoblin, or just don the Green Goblin suit, but instead we got this. Franco killed it as Harry. I loved his take on him, but they ruined him in this film. I didn't mind the Eddie Brock that Topher Grace was asked to play. He did good with what they gave him. He wasn't great, but he was pretty good. We all know the bad parts of this, so I'm not going to go there. Number 38, X-Men 3. The ending of the original trilogy, it left a terrible taste in our mouths. This is the beginning of the bad Fox X-Men movies. Scott being killed off screen, Wolverine having to kill Jean, Charles is dead, but hold on, just kidding. Juggernaut wasn't great. He was okay, and I'm glad they included him, but he could have been a little bit better. I didn't like them including mutants just to say they were in the movie. For example, Psylocke was in it, but was that even Psylocke? It was less than perfect, but we also got the best beast we've ever had, Mystique, the good one, taking a bullet from Magneto, and other really good parts. X-Men movies always get a higher rating from me because I'm such a fan. But what I'm most excited about is them being rebooted for a possible inclusion into the MCU. Number 37, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. I've already talked about this movie, but I'll say again that I liked more than I disliked about it. Certainly not perfect. I did like the Silver Surfer, though. Reed and Johnny were cast very well. Chiklis was okay. He could have been worse. He could have been better. The writing was decent, and we got another of the best Stan Lee cameos in this one. Number 36, Blade 2. I don't really have much to say about this because it's been a long time since I've seen it. I do remember that it's my least favorite Blade movie, that it is a good movie, and that a lot of people really like this one as their best in the series to them, so I'm going to defer to the public on this one and go ahead and place it at 36. And once I get a chance to rewatch the Blade films, then I'll see where I actually feel about them, but it has been a long time since I've seen them. I'm going to be honest about it. Number 35, X-Men Origins, Wolverine. I know everyone loves to pick this movie apart. The Deadpool that we got at the end was not something we're going to even talk about. But he was cool as Wade Wilson in the beginning. This movie is redeemed as the only movie with Deadpool and Wolverine, even though the only interactions with them were short. They were still funny, and good scenes too. Besides, Deadpool went and deleted that other Deadpool from the already completely whack timeline in the X-Men universe. I know they didn't get Gambit perfect, but it's the only Gambit we have, so I choose to enjoy it. So many people get mad about the movies not following the comics. I like to think of the movies as a different storyline altogether. Yes, it has better and worse parts, but I try to take it for what it is. I think I enjoy movies and TV shows more for that reason. I just appreciate what I'm given. I try not to pick it apart, and if I get a better version of it one day, that's great. I still have the comics to go back to if I can't stand the movie. I did have a problem with the reboot of the Fantastic Four, but I had Fantastic Four movies to enjoy in its place. Plus, it was just really bad, but we're not talking about that now. We're talking about Origins. Another thing I liked about it was Liev Schreiber killed it as Sabretooth. He was really good in this. I enjoyed his Sabretooth a lot. Number 34, Iron Man 3. The first MCU entry on the list, Iron Man 3 doesn't get the same pass from me as Origins does, but only because the MCU has better quality movies than Fox Marvel. Yet I still ranked it higher because it is a good movie, just not a great one. Tony Stark's PTSD wasn't focused on long enough in the greater MCU, in my opinion. but he did do a good job of portraying it in this movie. I liked his interactions with the kid. To me, his relationship with Peter is a result of that, but his relationship with Peter comes later, of course. In this movie, it's a mess. I liked Guy Pearce's Killian, but I didn't like the story, although the explosion burns with the people imprints was very creepy. It wasn't terrible, but it is the worst of the MCU movies in my opinion. Tell me if you disagree with me here. What do you think is the worst MCU movie, and why? Number 33, The Incredible Hulk. I liked this movie. I didn't ever really like Norton as Banner, which I do think was a fix with Mark Ruffalo. And I've talked about how I liked Liv Tyler in this, but I did fail to mention Tim Roth. I liked his character, and I believed his evolution into Abomination. We've had worse Hulk movies. I like this one the best, even though I know it's only included in the MCU because of the post-credit scene. Oh, sure, General Ross was in Civil War, but that was really the only connection, that and a passing comment by Banner about breaking Harlem. Number 32, Captain America, the First Avenger. This was a pretty bad movie at the end of the days of the older style of superhero movies. They got much more sophisticated after this one. They were able to get a couple of future Easter eggs at the time to pay off in the end, but it could have gone the other way had the universe not caught fire with the first successful team-up movie up to that date, being the Avengers. I did move it up my list after considering it, because Steve Rogers' story is very well told in this universe, but again, had it not turned out that way, it wouldn't have worked. If Winter Soldier hadn't been as good as it was, or at least better than the first Avenger, then this still could have been less satisfying. Hindsight being what it is now, I can say this movie was able to pay off its ambitious start, and that causes it to move up my list of MCU movies, despite it still not climbing out of the top 30 of them overall. Number 31, Thor, The Dark World. I want to like this movie more than I do. Christopher Eccleston is such an amazing actor, and I wanted my first Doctor to be a good Marvel villain. We got a good Marvel villain out of one of our Doctors, but it wasn't my first Doctor. I came to the show with Eccleston as the Doctor, but that's a different story. Tom Hiddleston was great in this, possibly his best Loki yet, but he wasn't in much of the movie, so he only redeemed it so much. This film was dull, but it did have some amazing moments, such as Frigga's funeral, the aforementioned Loki performance, and I don't care what you say, Darcy. Yes, I like her, she's funny to me. But none of that was enough to crack the top 30 to me. So tell me what you think. I want to hear your thoughts, your opinions below in the comments. Top 30 coming soon. Until then,
have a good one.